Whatever your sun, moon, or rising sign, there is a message in the sky waiting for you.
This is Horoscope TV, your essential guide to astrology.
Welcome back to Horoscope TV. We've unrolled the charts, we've analyzed all of the celestial data, and we have put together a custom forecast specifically for those of you who live under the sign of Virgo.
Yeah, and today's analysis is really focused on the movements of the heavy hitters. We're talking Saturn, Uranus, and Jupiter, and what they're going to demand of the meticulous and analytical Virgo in 2026.
And this isn't about minor tweaks, is it? We're looking at a full-scale, professional, and personal overhaul.
Exactly. We are tracking cycles that literally define generations. This is not small stuff.
So when we do this kind of long-term predictive work, we're really looking beyond the day-to-day horoscopes, and we're focusing on the gravitational shifts of these slower-moving outer planets. And for you, the listener, these shifts are going to create a mandatory change in trajectory.
That's precisely right. The core energy of 2026 is transformative. It's this blend of deep, deep relief with monumental generation-defining growth. For so many Virgos, the last 2 years have just been characterized by immense pressure.
I can imagine.
So the central narrative we see unfolding is this dramatic pivot, moving away from a time of restriction and responsibility and stepping directly into a phase that's defined by revolution and recharge.
I really appreciate that distinction because it gives such a clear timeline for the shift in mood. We start the year with this tangible lifting of a 2-year burden, a sense of lightness, and then we end the year with a dramatic physical and mental comeback, a true surge of personal power.
Exactly, and we've meticulously broken down this complex data into 5 distinct phases. We're going to show you how your personal identity, your most intimate relationships, your financial security, and the entirety of your career path will experience a fundamental reset.
A roadmap, basically.
A cosmic roadmap, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll detail exactly when to push into that revolutionary new territory, when to pause and protect your healing space, and then when to execute the public launch of your new self.
Okay, let's jump right into that welcome relief then. The great release that kicks off 2026.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this opening phase because I think this is going to resonate so profoundly with Virgos who felt completely drained over the last couple of years. We're talking about the lifting of some really intense relational pressure, right?
Yeah.
And it's centered around Saturn's movements.
That's the one. The date to circle in your calendar is February 13th. This is the day that Saturn, the great teacher of discipline, structure, commitment, it finally leaves the 7th house of relationships.
Which for Virgo is the sign of Pisces.
Exactly. And Saturn has been transiting this zone since way back in early 2024, so it's been a long haul.
Let's analyze what that actually meant for a meticulous Earth sign like Virgo.
Yeah.
Saturn in the 7th house in Pisces. It wasn't just about commitment, was it? It probably felt like constant draining responsibility.
It was a trial by water, you could say. Saturn imposes structure, but Pisces dissolves boundaries. So when Saturn travels through your 7th house, it forces this audit of your closest one-on-one relationships.
Marriages, business partners.
All of it. And because it was in Pisces, the challenge wasn't just setting boundaries, it was figuring out where the boundaries should even be.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, so Virgos, who are natural servants, likely felt they were constantly sacrificing their own needs, maybe dealing with partners who were emotionally needy or suffering, or who just demanded this constant proving of commitment.
It sounds less like a partnership and more like a never-ending spiritual assignment that just required so much maturity and emotional rigor.
Yeah, it's the nature of Saturn. It tests reality. It forces maturity, often through limitation or, hardship. So the burden of this transit meant that every major relationship, romantic or professional, needed to be constantly proven, tested for its structural integrity, or maybe even painfully restructured.
And Pisces is empathy and martyrdom.
Right. So many Virgos may have attracted partners or clients who were something suffering or restrictive, demanding just an excessive amount of emotional energy.
So when Saturn leaves on February 13th, the effect must be profound. What does that pressure lifting actually feel like?
It's a feeling of immense, almost palpable lightness. It's like being able to take a deep, unrestricted breath for the first time since 2024. The energetic drain just stops. The obligation to constantly prop up a demanding partner or a difficult structure, it just vanishes.
Wow.
And this moment is critical because it hands relational sovereignty right back to the Virgo.
So what are the concrete implications of that, this massive shift toward relational freedom moving into 2026?
The implications are twofold, and they offer total clarity. If a relationship, be it a romantic commitment, a marriage, or a significant business alliance, if it weathered those rigorous reality testing trials that Saturn imposed,
The ones from 2024 and 2025.
right, then that bond is now considered robust and unbreakable. It has a foundation that's been tested by fire and time. It's solid.
Okay, but what about the relationships that struggled? Or maybe even ended under that pressure?
Well, if a relationship dissolved during that transit, the Virgo is now truly, genuinely free to pursue something fundamentally lighter, more joyful, and crucially, less demanding.
So they break the pattern.
They break the pattern of attracting demanding or restrictive clients and partners. The energy they put out shifts from, say, fixer to equal collaborator. And that is a massive relief, allowing Virgos to completely redefine what partnership means for their future.
That clarity, coming so early in the year, it really sets the stage for the next major personal headline, which puts the Virgo right into the cosmic spotlight.
They step into a completely new identity almost immediately. We move really quickly to March 3rd, which features a total lunar eclipse situated directly in the sign of Virgo,
In their first house.
directly impacting the first house of self and identity. Yeah.
An eclipse in the first house sounds like a dramatic personal reset button. What does a lunar eclipse specifically trigger in the house of self?
It is arguably the most powerful personal climax a Virgo can experience. Eclipses are not gradual transitions, they're culmination points. They rapidly bring matters to a head, often forcing an ending or a huge revelation.
And it's a lunar eclipse, so it's about letting go.
Precisely. It deals with endings, releases, emotional completions. This is the moment where an old way of being, an old version of the self is shed, and shed dramatically.
So this is where the Virgo lets go of the self that was maybe stressed, overly analytical, and bound by all the constraints of that recent Saturn transit.
Exactly. The first house governs your physical body, your personal presentation, your title, your whole approach to life. This eclipse forces that letting go. It demands that your external reality finally matches the profound internal growth and healing you've undergone.
So what would that look like?
Well, they might change their appearance, a major haircut, a new style of dressing, or adopt a completely new professional title or lifestyle path that aligns with who they really are now.
It sounds like the culmination of years of quiet effort finally results in this very public, very tangible shift in identity. So what's the highest manifestation of this March 3rd moment?
This is the best date for personal breakthroughs. It's a moment of bold, decisive action to prioritize your own self-care and self-definition over the needs of others. The key is integration. The relational freedom you gained in February gives you the space to publicly declare, I am who I am now,
It's a moment of claiming authority.
and stepping out from behind the partner or, the supporting role.
I think a lot of Virgos will feel like the universe is finally saying, okay, it's your turn to be center stage.
It is their moment. The liberation from the seventh house constraints sets the emotional stage, and the eclipse provides the spotlight and the impetus for taking swift, bold action on a new identity that serves them and not just others.
So if the first quarter of the year was about self-liberation, the transition into spring is dominated by the most significant long-term event of the entire year, a completely revolutionized career path.
Let's analyze where it gets truly disruptive.
Okay.
We're looking at a planetary shift that happens only once every 84 years, hitting Virgo's professional peak. This is the absolute biggest, most consequential headline of 2026 for Virgo's professional life. The changes that get initiated now are going to shape the next decade. We are focusing on April 25th onwards.
And what happens on that date?
Uranus, the planet of innovation, revolution, and radical sudden shifts. It gresses into Gemini, which is the 10th house of career, status, and public standing for Virgo.
Uranus in the 10th house and in Gemini specifically. Wow, that is a seismic event. This isn't just a minor change of jobs. This sounds like a total restructure of your professional identity.
It is.
For a sign like Virgo, which prizes methodology and predictability, this has to feel terrifyingly exciting.
It is the energy of a lightning bolt striking a stable tower. Uranus disrupts the status quo, and in the 10th house, it demands immediate, radical independence in your career structure. So for Virgos who typically seek stability through a well-defined, safe hierarchy, this transit delivers a very stark message.
Which is?
The conventional safe path is now the most boring and potentially the riskiest path available. Success demands embracing innovation and unpredictability.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. That safety is risk. Let's break down the technical side of this transit. Why Gemini? How does the air sign energy of Gemini radically shift the career focus for an earth sign like Virgo?
Okay, this is the key technical insight. Virgo is an earth sign ruled by Mercury, focusing on practical detail, organization, service. Gemini is an air sign, also ruled by Mercury, focusing on communication, data, networking, duality. So when Uranus activates the 10th house in Gemini, it mandates a career pivot toward information, digital platforms, connectivity, and multiplicity.
The career path has to become intelligent, modern, flexible.
Absolutely. The specific career implications are a total rupture with traditional hierarchy. Virgos might change industries entirely, moving abruptly toward fields that are heavily dominated by, well, a few things.
Like what?
One, technology and data. So analyzing, programming, working with AI. Two, digital media and communications. Podcasting, specialized writing, content creation, high-level consulting. And three, freelance and multiple streams. Gemini rules multiplicity, so Virgos will find success not in one stable job, but maybe managing 2 or 3 innovative, intellectually stimulating projects at the same time.
The era of the predictable, linear career path seems to be completely over for this group.
Yeah.
The opportunity here is to become a true pioneer.
Exactly. If a Virgo has been sitting on some brilliant, futuristic, digital business idea that they previously shelved because it seems too out there or unconventional,
Now is the time.
this is the time to launch it. Uranus rewards bravery. The old rules of their industry just don't apply to them anymore, and they'll find success by being the disruptive force, not by following the established blueprint. They have to market their intellectual property, their unique data-driven skill sets.
So professional fulfillment comes through embracing that intellectual, maybe digital restlessness that Gemini embodies. But revolution often brings instability. Let's talk about the financial side of that radical, often volatile Uranian energy. Uranus often makes income highly variable, right?
It does. Uranus promises potentially much higher income, especially through intellectual property, commissions, consulting, but it is unstable. Income can spike dramatically, but it won't be the steady paycheck a Virgo is used to. However, this variable income stream is simultaneously being managed and severely tempered by a much stricter planet in an equally serious financial house.
And this is where we bridge the revolutionary Uranus in the 10th with the disciplined Saturn in the 8th, house of shared resources and investments. How do these two giants work together? It feels like they're at odds.
This is crucial. Saturn enters Aries, the 8th house, on February 13th. Coincidentally, the very same day it leaves the 7th house.
No kidding.
Yeah. The universe, having liberated Virgo relationally, immediately gives them a mandate for financial maturity. So if Uranus is going to deliver variable, potentially high income, Saturn is demanding rigorous management of that wealth.
Okay, can you clarify for the listener, what is the 8th house and how is it different from the 2nd house, which is just earned income or salary?
Of course. The 2nd house is your simple earned income, the direct result of your effort, your salary, your hourly wage. The 8th house is much deeper. It governs resources shared with others. So this includes loans, mortgages, commissions, passive income, business funding, taxes, inheritance, your spouse's income, deed financial investments.
Okay.
The mandate is shifting from focusing on the hard work for a paycheck, the 2nd house, to thinking smarter about long-term consolidated wealth and risk management, the 8th house.
And this requires a high degree of seriousness, which is Saturn's signature. So what does this financial audit look like in practice for Virgo?
It requires meticulousness, a quality Virgo naturally possesses, but which now has to be applied aggressively to debt and investments. They need to consolidate debt, rigorously organize their tax matters, deal with complicated inheritance or trust issues, and avoid risky new loans unless they're directly funding a business venture that's Uranian in nature.
So they might feel poorer for a bit.
Yes, Virgos might feel momentarily poorer because Saturn compels them to aggressively pay down high-interest balances. But this is the smartest move for achieving long-term financial sovereignty and weathering that variable income Uranus provides.
And we see that intensity peak when Mars, the planet of action, joins Saturn in the zone. That's from April 9th to May 18th. Mars is the natural ruler of Aries, so this adds a really aggressive, focused edge to the financial structure.
Oh, that 6-week period is intense. The energy is aggressive and focused, perfect for tackling debt. Mars joining Saturn in the 8th house demands action. Virgos will be attacking their debt, maybe setting extremely tight budgets for 6 weeks just to wipe out a significant balance or finalize a major financial restructure.
So they're applying warrior energy to auditing their books.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So the overall focus shifts from how much did I earn this month to something like How much are my assets worth, and how secure are my investments for the long haul? It's a complete shift in financial methodology, driven by both liberation from Uranus and discipline from Saturn.
Precisely. They are building a fortress to manage the revolutionary income streams that Uranus will inevitably deliver.
That career revolution and the intense financial auditing, that sounds like a period of massive external effort and intense intellectual stimulation. It's almost overwhelming. So it's a huge relief that the middle of the year provides a cosmic escape hatch, a mandate for rest and internal healing.
It is the perfect counterbalance, and it's a non-negotiable phase for any Virgos who have been working themselves to the bone. Starting June 30th, Jupiter, the planet of luck, protection, and expansion, moves into Leo.
And that's Virgo's 12th house of spirituality, solitude, and privacy. Now, this is often described as a subtle transit, meaning the benefits aren't always publicly obvious. What does Jupiter in the 12th house specifically expand or protect for Virgo's day-to-day existence?
The 12th house is one of the most complex sectors. It governs solitude, the subconscious, healing, karma, hidden enemies, and places of confinement like retreats, hospitals, or just working behind the scenes. Jupiter here acts as this invisible, protective force field.
So for the second half of the year, their greatest luck comes from retreating.
Their greatest luck and expansion comes from retreating and prioritizing recovery, yes.
So their mental health, which is often strained by those perfectionist tendencies of Virgo, becomes their golden priority. Therapy, meditation, healing from old burnout, all of that gets a massive positive expansion.
Absolutely. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So in the 12th, it expands your capacity for introspection and healing. This is the optimal time for deep research, for coding complex projects, or for writing that novel or technical paper in complete privacy.
An incubation period.
It's an intensive incubation period. Necessary rest and preparation for the massive public debut and energetic phase that is waiting for them in 2027. They're refilling their well.
You mentioned guardian angel energy. Given that the 12th house also rules hidden enemies and self-undoing, what does Jupiter's protection look like in the real world during this time?
It means that the universe offers an invisible shield against self-sabotage and hidden stressors. If a Virgo needs to undergo surgery, a major dental procedure, or recovery from an illness that might have been caused by the high stress of the last couple of years,
Right.
the second half of 2026 provides phenomenal support and faster healing. Solitude truly is medicine. And furthermore, any creative project that's incubated during this time may be using that dramatic Leo energy in the 12th to develop a powerful creative vision in secret. It will be blessed when it eventually surfaces.
Okay, let's talk about love and money. Because despite this need for privacy and spiritual sanctuary, Virgos still get their glow-up season, driven by Venus transits.
Yes, the planet of grace and attraction makes sure they don't retreat completely into a cave. On July 9th, Venus enters Virgo, their first house. This is peak magnetic energy.
So what does that mean?
Virgos are instantly more charming, attractive, and convincing. It's the optimal time for creating new professional profile pictures, asking for significant favors, negotiating, or going on those critical first dates where magnetism matters more than logic.
And that attraction quickly translates into easy earning when Venus moves into their house of simple cash flow.
That financial opportunity happens from August 6th through September 10th. Venus moves into Libra, which is the second house of earned income. And because Venus rules value, charm, and grace, this is, hands down, the easiest month for making money based on their natural skills and services.
So that's the time to ask for a raise.
The ideal moment to confidently ask for a raise, set higher prices for services, or even generate easy cash by decluttering and selling used items. Libra rules balance and exchange of value. They should use that increased charm from July to capitalize financially in August.
Let's loop back to romance then, balancing this high attraction with the Jupiter mandate for privacy. If attraction is high in July, but Jupiter is pushing them towards solitude and subconscious work in the 12th house, where does romance settle?
This is a subtle contradiction. While they are externally magnetic, the happiest, most fulfilling romantic moments will happen behind closed doors. Virgos are just less interested in public displays of affection or superficial dating during this period.
It's more about a deeper connection.
The 12th house connection suggests they are truly looking for a deep, psychic, soulmate level connection. This might manifest as a romance that is unconventional, maybe long distance, or one that they decide to intentionally keep secret or private for a while to protect its sanctity.
That deep dive into a psychic bond, even if the connection doesn't look logical on paper, maybe they fall for someone who seems completely unlike their usual type. That requires Virgos to trust their intuition, which is often a significant challenge for a sign that loves meticulous logic and analysis.
It is the highest advice for this mid-year period. Trust your intuition in relationships above your spreadsheet. The 12th house deals with the intangible, the unseen realm. If a connection feels profoundly right on a soul level, even if it completely contradicts their meticulously planned checklist for a partner, they must explore it.
And the opposite is true too.
Conversely, yes, if something feels subtly off, that Jupiter protection is warning them to step back immediately, even if the person seems perfect on paper. The subconscious is speaking very loudly this summer.
So the year has been one of radical personal identity shifts, serious financial restructuring, and this quiet spiritual healing. But before the final victory lap and the energy surge, the cosmos throws a critical test that focuses on communication and cash flow, the Venus retrograde.
This is the cosmic stop sign, and it requires meticulous preparation from the detail-oriented Virgo. It runs from October 3rd to November 13th when Venus goes retrograde, impacting the third house of communication and then backing into the second house of money.
Oof. Virgos rely on precision in communication and clear transactions. So what are the specific challenges of a Venus retrograde hitting these two vital houses?
Well, in the third house of communication, everything related to immediate connectivity, technology, local travel, it all gets messy. Venus retrogrades often require us to review matters of value, and in the third house, this applies to the value of your ideas and contracts.
So things get misinterpreted.
Exactly. Emails get lost or misinterpreted, important pitch documents are misunderstood, local travel is subject to chaotic delays, and tense issues with siblings or neighbors who are third house topics might surface.
So how does the Virgo's typical analytical nature help or hinder them during this period?
It helps if they're proactive. The strategy here is excessive proofreading, slowing down digital communication, and meticulously reviewing all marketing materials and websites. And crucially, do not launch a major new product or start a high-stakes negotiation that relies on charm or presentation during these 6 weeks.
Wow.
The value is being reassessed, and you risk mispricing or misrepresenting your services.
And how does that affect the financial side as the retrograde backs into the second house?
On October 25th, the retrograde backs into the second house of earned income. This is when the easy flow of cash from that lovely August Venus transit temporarily runs dry. Payments are likely to be late, checks might be delayed, and customers may start to question the value of your services.
So this is a period for financial review, not new acquisition.
Exactly. This period is critical for an internal audit. You need to chase down any unpaid invoices aggressively, meticulously review all subscriptions and ongoing contracts for wasted value, and absolutely avoid major luxury purchases.
Like a new car.
Like cars, high-end electronics, designer goods. Avoid them to prevent later regret when Venus moves direct and you realize you overpaid or undervalued the item. Venus retrogrades force us to reconsider what we truly value.
I can imagine this intense review period, combined with the communication glitches, also leads to the mental burnout and anxiety that the third house can trigger for the already sensitive Virgo.
It is a major health risk. The third house also governs the nervous system and localized travel. Virgos, already inclined to overthink, might overanalyze every physical symptom. Hypochondria is definitely possible during this transit as their mind races.
So what's the strategy?
The strategy here has to be clinical and highly disciplined. Reduce caffeine intake drastically, stop Googling your symptoms or seeking multiple opinions, and strictly stick to one trusted medical or psychological advisor rather than letting internal panic drive your decisions. The mental noise is just going to be amplified.
Okay, so patience, review, and rigorous self-management are the tools for October and early November. But once that glitch period ends, the entire energy flips on a dime. The sleepy, introspective energy from the summer is replaced by warrior mode.
The warrior mode activation begins dramatically on November 25th, when Mars, the planet of action, vitality, and assertion, enters Virgo, right into the first house of self.
This is the ignition sequence. How does Mars in the first house dramatically shift the Virgo's public and private demeanor?
The shift is immediate and palpable. Mars brings drive, energy, the will to assert yourself. Virgos transition from working behind the scenes and resting to being highly assertive, intensely driven, and ready to lead the charge.
So this is the physical comeback.
This is the promised physical comeback they have been preparing for during that Jupiter in 12th phase. They aren't just thinking about action, they are taking it.
So energy, libido, ambition, it all surges just in time for the holidays when most of the world is winding down. That's an incredible competitive advantage.
It is. This is the ideal time to start that ambitious workout routine, tackle physically demanding projects, or finally execute those plans that required high levels of focus and physical power. Virgos end the year on offense, feeling dominant and productive.
And all that work they did in solitude.
The research, the healing, the planning it now fuels their public assertion and their ability to negotiate exactly what they want. They become unstoppable in tackling the hardest items on their to-do list.
Let's analyze that energy surge a bit more. How does Mars in the first house practically utilize the healing and research that was done during the Jupiter in 12th transit?
Okay, so the 12th housework provided the strategic vision and the necessary rest to avoid burnout. Mars in the first house provides the engine and the physical stamina to manifest that vision. If a Virgo spent the summer designing a new business, Mars in the first gives them the aggressive drive to launch it and fight for its success in the marketplace.
And if they healed an injury,
Mars gives them the physical vitality to return to peak form. It's the activation of preparedness.
however, we always need a Mars warning when it enters the first house. Heat and speed are involved, and Virgos are precise, not necessarily fast.
Caution is necessary. Mars brings heat, speed, and potential conflict. Virgos need to watch out for minor injuries related to rushing or carelessness, like cutting themselves or accidents due to impatience. Physically, Mars can manifest as fevers, inflammation, or headaches due to excess adrenaline.
So they're moving faster than usual.
They're moving faster than they are accustomed to, so the key is to focus on channeling that intensity into productive physical effort, like vigorous exercise, rather than, sharp words or reckless action.
This analysis reveals a complete marathon of transformation for Virgo in 2026. If we look at the cosmic data, it just paints this picture of intense growth anchored by necessary rest.
It's a phenomenal year for Virgos. The data shows they finally break free of old relational patterns, they restructure their finances for long-term power, and they enter a new professional era defined by innovation.
So let's summarize the key power dates and strategies Virgos should be highlighting on their calendars.
For personal breakthroughs, that moment of clarity and identity climax, you have to harness the energy of March 3rd, the total lunar eclipse in Virgo, to shed that old skin.
For relationship relief, the lifting of that 2-year burden of commitment and demanding partnership marked February 13th when Saturn finally leaves the 7th house.
The era of career innovation and professional disruption, that shift from stability to pioneering, begins April 25th onwards, thanks to Uranus entering the top of your chart.
And the crucial period dedicated to deep healing and rest, which is your strategic advantage, is protected by Jupiter in the 12th house, stretching from June 30th to November 25th.
And the year ends with a spectacular, assertive surge of high energy and drive, starting November 25th and carrying right through December 31st, as Mars activates your sign, demanding action and physical dominance.
But handle with extreme care the period from October 3rd to November 13th. That's the Venus retrograde, where communication glitches and income delays are going to require meticulous review and patience, not new ventures.
If we analyze the whole year's celestial movements, 2026 is fundamentally about embracing the unconventional and innovative in your career, while simultaneously learning to find this immense protective power in private, hidden, and restorative efforts.
So the lesson is?
The greatest lesson here is that preparation done in solitude leads directly and powerfully to public dominance.
That structural reality leads us to the final provocative thought for every Virgo listener. If your greatest success in 2027, your major public debut, depends entirely on the depth of healing, private research, and quiet development you undertake between June and November of 2026, how rigorously and unapologetically will you protect your sanctuary right now?
That decision dictates the momentum of your future. Protect your peace, prepare your genius.
Think about that, Virgos. We'll see you next time on Horoscope TV.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Horoscope TV. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the show so you don't miss the next forecast. Can't wait for the next episode? You don't have to. Get more astrology insights and read your daily horoscope right now at horoscope.tv. That's horoscope.tv. We'll see you in the next episode.